Part 1. As a seasoned night shift patrol officer, I've seen my fair share of strange occurrences, especially on the quiet country roads that snake through the dense forests outside town. But nothing compared to what began on a crisp autumn night with a routine call about a stranded motorist on Old Creek Road. Arriving at the scene, I found an abandoned vehicle by the roadside, its hazard lights blinking feebly in the darkness. There was no sign of the driver, just an open door and a cold engine. I reported the situation, ready to call it in as an abandoned vehicle, when I saw her, a young woman standing on the edge of the forest, her thumb extended in a classic hitchhiker's gesture. She was oddly dressed for a night this chilly, wearing a thin floral dress, her eyes wide and shimmering under the moonlight. Something about her seemed out of place, almost like she had stepped out of another time. "Need a ride?" I called out, my hand instinctively resting on the flashlight at my belt. She nodded, her voice barely a whisper. "Yes, please, just down the road." As she climbed into the patrol car, I noticed her shivering, her gaze fixed straight ahead. I tried making small talk, asking where she was headed at this hour, but her answers were vague, almost evasive. We drove in silence for a few miles when suddenly she asked me to stop. "Here is fine," she said, pointing to a seemingly random spot on the road. I obliged, pulling over, but when I turned to bid her goodbye, she was gone. Vanished into thin air. The passenger seat was empty. The only sign she had been there was the faint imprint on the seat. Shaken, I searched the area, shining my flashlight into the dense woods, but found no trace of her. There was nowhere she could have gone so quickly. Back at the station, I ran a check on the abandoned vehicle. It belonged to a local girl who had gone missing years ago. The photo on the file sent a chill down my spine. It was her, the hitchhiker I had just encountered. I delved into the case, uncovering a chilling pattern. Over the years, several motorists reported picking up a hitchhiker matching her description on Old Creek Road, only for her to disappear from their vehicles. The legend of the vanishing companion on Old Creek Road began to take shape, a mystery that haunted the late-night travelers. I couldn't shake the encounter, the image of her eyes, both fearful and haunting, etched in my memory. As the nights passed, I found myself drawn back to Old Creek Road, a part of me hoping to see her again, to find answers. But she never appeared, her story remaining just out of reach, a ghostly enigma woven into the fabric of local lore. I continued my night patrols, the mystery of the vanishing companion always in the back of my mind. Old Creek Road held a secret, a tale of loss and unexplained phenomena, and I had become a part of it. Part 2. Echoes in the Fog. As the weeks passed since my encounter with the vanishing hitchhiker, the memory refused to fade. I found myself frequently driving down Old Creek Road, each journey a mix of apprehension and a strange, compelling draw. The road itself was a character in its own right. Lined by gnarled trees, their branches like twisted arms reaching out to the night sky, it created an ominous tunnel that seemed to stretch into infinity. The dense fog that often settled over it in the evenings gave the landscape a ghostly quality, muffling sounds and creating eerie, shifting shapes in the periphery of vision. It was during one of these foggy patrols, the car's headlights struggling to penetrate the dense mist, when I experienced my second jolt of terror. A figure suddenly emerged from the fog, standing in the middle of the road, causing me to slam the brakes and swerve, narrowly avoiding what I thought was a person. Heart pounding, I jumped out of the patrol car, flashlight in hand. But there was no one there. The road was empty, the only sound the gentle hum of the car engine and my own ragged breathing. This experience only deepened the enigma of Old Creek Road and my resolve to understand it. I started to research the history of the area, discovering that the road was built over what was once a small settlement dating back to the early 1800s, abandoned under mysterious circumstances. The more I learned, the more I felt a connection to this place and its hidden history. It was as if the road and the forest were communicating through these apparitions, replaying a forgotten tragedy. Driven by a need for answers, I began spending my off-duty nights parked in the patrol car, watching and waiting. The interior of the car became my temporary sanctuary, a place of stillness amidst the whispering trees and the ever-present fog. Then, one night, it happened. The air grew unnaturally cold, and the fog seemed to thicken, swirling around the car in ghostly tendrils. The silence was oppressive, the usual nocturnal sounds of the forest absent. I peered through the windshield, my eyes straining to pierce the fog. Suddenly, a face appeared, pressed against the glass, its features contorted in a silent scream. I jolted back, my heart racing, only for it to disappear as quickly as it had come. I bolted from the car, flashlight sweeping across the empty road. That's when I heard it. A faint whisper, coming from the direction of the abandoned settlement's remains, deeper in the woods. Compelled by a mix of fear and determination, I followed the whispers through the underbrush, the remains of old structures emerging like specters from the mist. The whispers grew louder, becoming discernible voices, cries for help, pleas for mercy, the echoes of a long-forgotten disaster. In the heart of the settlement, I found the source of the whispers, a mass grave, unmarked and reclaimed by the forest, yet still seeping sorrow and despair. The air shimmered with a spectral light, and the figures of the settlement's inhabitants appeared, reenacting their final moments in a loop of tragedy. I realized then that these spirits were trapped, bound to this place by their untold story, their unacknowledged suffering. I knew what I had to do. Over the following days, I worked to uncover their story, giving names to the forgotten. I brought their tale to light, acknowledging their existence and their plight. I held a small memorial service at the grave, inviting a few interested locals. As I spoke the names of the deceased, the atmosphere shifted. The air grew warmer, the fog receding. The spectral figures stopped their reenactment, turning towards me. In their eyes, I saw gratitude, relief. One by one, they faded away, their whispers quieting until only silence remained. I left Old Creek Road that night feeling a sense of closure, both for the spirits and myself. The road would always be a place of mystery and history, but its haunting had come to an end. My encounters on Old Creek Road changed me. I gained a deeper understanding of the thin veil between the past and present, the living and the dead. And though I continued my patrols, the road was just a road again, its phantoms laid to rest. Thank you for delving into the shadows with the Horror Memoirs. Our tale ends here, but the dread lingers. Remember, in the quiet dark, horror awaits. Join us again for more tales that chill the spine. Subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss a whisper from the darkness.